I got my money right, last year I bossed up. Them diamonds, they look fake, they must ain't cost much. Fake friends, they gon' say we lost touch.
What is the deal, beautiful people? My name is Ramon, Lifestyle Defined. Let's talk about HTC, specifically HTC and Google. Wow, I don't know, this is much less of a splash than per se when Google bought Motorola. To me, it was so interesting to see Google went out and bought a hardware company. It's like, uh-oh, they're ready to do it. Here they go. Google's finally ready to dial it back and take control of Android and all these, these whimsical thoughts. And then nothing. They sold it back or whatever the hell they did. So they pretty much just raped Motorola for patents. And I guess that's okay because that's sort of what Microsoft did with Nokia. At least Microsoft had the balls to ride out with a few generation of hardware. Google did no such thing. The Nexus program was still as strong as ever, and the Nexus died, and then it's Pixel and yada yada yada. So now that I'm seeing that Google's buying HTC, it isn't as exciting as it once would have been, and I don't know how to feel about this. I want to be excited about it, but I'm just not. Then you look at HTC themselves. I've been an HTC fanboy since, since Windows Phone. Some of you may or may not know, I used to be a moderator on XDA, and a lot of these dudes are still my good friends to this day. Shout out to Aaron, Scott, and Steve, the XDA boys. HTC was the shit back then. You know what I mean? You would hang around till 3-4 in the morning, hanging out with the chefs, cooking up ROMs on the forums, giving support to users, and just it was just a different world back then. And Windows Phone sort of fell to the side. The iPhone pretty much killed Windows Phone the way Windows Phone killed Palm, right? And then Android came about, and then XDA pretty much just overnight transitioned from Windows Phone to Android. And HTC was still very prominent in that world. And I loved them for that, and I really respected them for that. And a lot of their hardware was just genius. They really lived up to that old tag, quietly brilliant. I think the problem with that tag was they were very quiet, and they were always a smaller company, so you couldn't really expect much. But man, their hardware was amazing. You remember like the HD2, the HD7. These phones were just legendary. The Evo. There's some fun times at HTC. And when the M7 came around, the HTC one, the very first one, that's when we really saw HTC was in trouble, because HTC made phones for every price point, and we're not talking a 200, 300, 400. We're talking a 150, a 175, a 200, a $225 phone, a $250 phone. Like, it was ridiculous how many SKUs and different phones HTC had. And the M7 was their attempt to just unify that. I remember the CEO at the time was saying, "This is it. We're making this one phone, and that's it. And this is what we're all about." And it was beautiful. At the time, no one did Android. No one, even today, you could argue that HTC still has the best skin of Android. It's so tastefully done, and it's always been that way. But in later years, the HTC One series been struggling, and they came out with the U11, and that hasn't been really hitting the mark. Although people who own it seem to love it, I think it's a beautiful phone, stunning, really, but still no traction. And a lot about that phone was the politics. And when I really dug into why that phone wasn't a powerhouse, like say something like the S8 or the Note, it came down to the fact that HTC just didn't have money and bargaining power to get the best chips and the best that was available at the time. So they ended up in this weird space where it was a beautifully designed phone, clearly the look and feel and mold of a flagship phone, but with like yesteryear spec, right? And it was like, what? But it had a flagship price. And unless you're an HTC loyalist, like you're not about that shit at all. So HTC is in a weird space. And then here comes Google. Now, why is Google doing this? And I had to do some digging. The headlines are crazy, but they're not buying HTC. Apparently, they're buying or taking the team that was responsible for the Pixel design, and I think they also gave them 1.1 billion. And they have some non-exclusive rights to the HTC. I don't know. It's weird what's happening here, but because of that non-exclusive clause, I don't think that Google's trying to get access to patents here. And I know HTC has got some patents. We know this for a fact. So I don't get what's happening there, and I don't get what's happening with HTC. With Google wanted the team that did the Pixel, because I don't find anything special about the Pixel. Now they could have bought Huawei. They could have bought the team that did the Nexus. There's other ways to go. There's other designers, and I don't think Google lacks the talent in-house to design a smartphone. Like, just copy whatever the fuck Samsung just did. Like, that's the end of that. You get what I mean? Like, it's such a weird thing, and I'm happy for HTC because one, that $1.5 billion is going to potentially put them in a better place to get better hardware, so that the next phone can be a heavy hitter that it deserves to be. You look at the HTC Vive, it's going to put them in a place where they can continue to really make way in that industry. A lot of VR loyalists is saying that the HTC Vive is probably the best all around. I don't know. This is what I've been told. So it's good to see them get some capital to keep these things running. But I don't know what's in it for Google. I really don't. And to be honest, after what they did with Motorola, can Google be trusted? You know what I mean? When the Pixel thing is still going on, is the Pixel going to be always a 1,000% an in-house thing now? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I'm not too excited on the news, but I'm happy to see HTC found a way to get some capital to keep fighting. That's always good. You never want to see yesteryear's giant disappeared. You know, BlackBerry's still fighting for their life, but maybe this is HTC's last swing. I don't know. Hit the comments. Let me know what you think. My name is Ramon. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button. We got plenty more coming. I'm out of here. Peace. Well, I guess, and the reason we started Lifestyles Defined is because if we weren't on camera arguing about these things, the technologies, the phones, the iPhones, the Androids, the cameras, the games, we'd be on the phone arguing about it. We'd be in each other's houses arguing about it. So why not just put it in front of a camera for everyone to enjoy it the way we do? That's what Lifestyles Defined is all about. We just